Tom, welcome. Great to have you aboard here. Again, you have to give the Red Sox a mulligan, but they got to get out of Houston winning these next 2 out of 3, or they could be goodbye. Dodgers this weekend, they could be goodbye in the wild card race. So these are important games here these next 3 nights. Let's discuss that first. Go ahead.
Chris, no doubt about that. Last night was the start of the gauntlet. It's a 10-game stretch with 7 games against the Astros surrounding 3 against the Dodgers at Fenway this weekend. Doesn't get a whole lot tougher than that. And they put themselves in a position where they're on the edge of the race, but you see what they've got coming up. It's one of the toughest schedules in all of Major League Baseball. By the end of the season, they've still got 6 more against the Astros. As we said, they've got 7 against the Orioles. You got the Rays, you got Texas. It's as tough a schedule as it gets. Now, you know, they beat up on some bad teams over the last couple of weeks. Went 9-4 to get into this stretch. But after that Duvall home run, you felt pretty good about things, and then it got away. The defense really came back. It's been a Jekyll and Hyde team all season, Chris, and last night, the bad defense, Paxton couldn't get himself out of the innings. It just came back to haunt him again.
100% right. And, you know, the Red Sox, as you said, they are Jekyll and Hyde. It's a very weird team. You know, sometimes you feel good about them. You know, they go beat the Cubs to start the second half, and they can't win a series. You know, they lose 2 out of 3 to Oakland. I mean, then they go out to the West Coast after a good homestand, and they lose 4 out of 6 to Giants in Seattle. I mean, it's a very odd. They get swept at home by the Pirates, and they lose 2 out of 3 to the Rockies at home, and they lose 2 out of 3 to Cincinnati at home. It's a very strange team, this Red Sox club, and that probably at the end of the day, Tom, is going to be the difference between making the postseason and, you know, not making the postseason is their erratic performance from the get-go. Let's discuss that for a sec. Let me hear.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, and you listed a lot of them. They swept by St. Louis at home. That was another one. And every time you sort of feel like they've turned the corner and they're starting to put it together, they have a game like last night. 2 errors last night. Could have been a lot more, should have been a lot more. I don't know what it takes to have a score or credit an error in baseball today, but everything's a hit. And that's probably good for the Red Sox defense. Nonetheless, 87 errors is the most in all of Major League Baseball right now. 4th worst if you go by defensive runs saved. They can hit the ball, as you just saw. They've been one of the better hitting teams in baseball all year. But you can't give a team like Houston extra outs. They did it right out of the gate last night. A couple of plays that weren't scored errors. Could have been. Yoshida misplayed 1 out in left field. Devers had a rough night at third base. And you just open up the floodgates after that. The pitching has been pretty good, and the bullpen's actually been one of the best in baseball since the All-Star break. But again, when they have a game like last night and they come out and they play bad defense like that, it just tends to spiral from there. Now, this is a lot like, you know, about 2.5 weeks ago, they were in the same position, getting ready to host Toronto at Fenway Park. They were just a couple of games back of the Blue Jays in the wild card race, and there's a lot of optimism that that would be the weekend. They were 7-0 against Toronto coming into that series. Lost all 3, one of the ugliest weekends of the season, and you thought that might be it, but then over the last couple of weeks, including that sweep of the Yankees, they got back in it. It's been a team that's hovered on the edge, but like you said, they're running out of time now. You know, if you lose 3 out of 4 to Houston, there's not 5.5 weeks left in the season to try to make up for that. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it'd be hard. And the Dodgers this weekend, and you're right, you know, base running error there in that 9th inning on that Saturday game against the Blue Jays was a killer. Where, you know, the ball out the left center field, that Caron court. Betts comes in this weekend. Now, I am the belief that he was never, ever going to sign with the Red Sox under any circumstances. But, you know, there's also that feeling that the Red Sox didn't want to pay him $350 million. So this would be an interesting deal for him. Won a championship there. I'm sure he's beloved. Verdugo's been a pretty good Red Sox. I mean, and the Red Sox seem to have gotten their act together a little bit. What's your take on the scenario with Mookie when he shows up at Fenway on Friday night? Let me hear your take on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Chris, that I agree that he never would have signed here, but I think it would have been really, really difficult. He would have gone to free agency, and then you'd have had, you know, a 1 in 30 shot. You'd have probably had to overpay him to keep him. It's a generational talent. And no matter what the scenario was behind his departure, it is really tough to tell the fan base of a big market team like the Boston Red Sox that you couldn't figure out a way to keep Mookie Betts. And then Xander Bogaerts obviously after him as well. But, you know, Betts rolls into town. with J.D. Martinez and Kike Hernandez back with the Dodgers. And, they've got Joe Kelly now is back with the Dodgers. It's like a who's who of the last great Red Sox team that rolled through here in 2018. And, it's going to be a tough weekend. If that team comes in and steals your lunch money, there's going to be a lot of unrest. Doesn't matter how surprisingly good a season this has been for the Red Sox this weekend. There's going to be a lot of narratives rolling into Fenway Park, and the optics going to be really bad if Mookie Betts leads the Dodgers to a couple 3 wins.
Well, also, let's give the Red Sox credit to Justin Turner. That was a tremendous signing. So they got one from L.A. He has been great. He gets big hits. He's wonderful in that clubhouse. He's got 78 RBIs. He's a professional hitter, and the Dodgers gave up on him. And, into this recent hot streak, they've had a tough time on the left side of the infield. So we got to be fair there, too, Tommy, because the Red Sox got one from L.A. when the Dodgers have taken a few from the Red Sox. How about that for a sec on Justin Turner? Go ahead.
No doubt about it. And he's battling a sore heel, so he's out of the lineup last night. And you really saw the difference with this team without Justin Turner lineup. He has been really the bedrock of this lineup and of this clubhouse. There's a lot of talk that they could trade him at the deadline, but it absolutely would have turned the clubhouse upside down. He's a great leader. We know that, a Roberto Clemente Award winner. But he might be having his best year at the age of 38 years old. 20 home runs at the age of 38 years old. Huge day Sunday. Put the team on his back. Had the 3-run home run against the Yankees. And after they gave up that lead, had the 9th inning RBI that he slapped one of the opposite field on a tough pitch to bring in the go-ahead run. This guy has been everything they had hoped for, and it's why they were able to move on from J.D. Martinez, because they were able to bring Justin Turner in and do what he's done. Listen, Chaim Bloom's done a lot of good things here, and a lot of people here in Boston don't want to give him credit for it, but he settled down the back end of the bullpen that was a mess last year. Chris Martin, Kenley Jansen, another former Dodger, they've been outstanding to settle down and put everybody else in a better position to succeed, better roles for the rest of that bullpen. Turner coming in has been terrific. The Yoshida signing, everybody thought he was nuts for spending the $90 million to sign him as quickly, and he's been a great signing for them. So, a year ago, Chris, this team didn't seem like it had a roadmap to the future. Now I think you can see it. Yoshida, Story's back. You see what he can do at shortstop now that he's healthy again, and the elbow is good. Jarren Duran, who's going to go on the IL today, but he's been terrific in center field. Tristan Casas has the highest slugging percentage in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. 23 years old at first base. Connor Wong's become a good catcher, another guy they got in the Mookie Betts deal. So the future is there. I'm just not sure it's going to come together over the next 5.5 weeks to grab a spot.
And I agree with you on that, Tom. Well done. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on here today.
Thanks, Mad Dog. Over on.